Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to this companion video here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, John Campea. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, we leave some time to take some live questions, but sometimes we just don't have time to get to all the live questions that come in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered, so I gathered up the unused questions, and I bring them over here, and I address them on companion videos. So, with all that out of the way, let's dive right into the first question we're going to get caught up on here today, which comes to us from Danny Ramuni, who writes, I'm sure I'm butchering your name, Danny. Sorry about that. Huge Scorsese fan, but scared for Irishman. Thoughts? Well, this came up the other day as well. I have been nervous about The Irishman because, yes, it's Scorsese. Yes, he's working with the Dreamcast. But the thing is, every other studio passed on it. And so it ended up at Netflix. That, to me, is a little bit of a red flag. But then, and I told this story the other day, one of my friends said to me something that makes a lot of sense. They said, well, John, maybe the studios didn't pass on it because they didn't think it was any good. Maybe they passed on it just because they didn't think it would make money. Now, I'm forgetting the name of the movie off the top of my head. Let me go over here and pull it up. But Martin Scorsese recently did a film with Liam Neeson. I'm trying to remember the name of it here. Let me just pull it up. And I remember it absolutely tanked at the box office. Silence is the film he did. And he did that with Liam Neeson, Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield. And it tanked. Like, great cast, great director. And guess what? It was a great movie. It wasn't just a good movie. It was a great movie. I think that movie Silence was fantastic. But nobody went to go to see it. So I have been worried about the film, but like my friend said, and I think he made a very, very good point that has kind of changed my mind on this, is that maybe it's not a matter of it not being good. Maybe it was just a matter of, hey, this script looks great, but it's the type of script and story we don't think anybody's going to go to see at the theaters, and therefore we can't make our money back on it, therefore we're going to pass on it. If that's the case, then we may end up with a really great movie on Netflix with The Irishman. So we're going to have to just wait and see. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I think there is more things to be enthusiastic about and hopeful about, though, than maybe I originally gave it credit for. So fingers crossed. Let's see how it turns out. All right, next one. Bryce Bradford writes, Batman Mask of the Phantasm is my perfect movie. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but a great Batman movie, yes. But more than that, I relate to the amazing loved and lost story for Bruce. What's funny? First of all, Mask of the Phantasm is great. Might be the best animated DC or Marvel movie ever. I'm not going to say it's the best animated superhero movie ever because The Incredibles or The Incredibles 2 might take that cake, but it's amazing. Mask of the Phantasm is great. You want to feel old? This December will be the 25th anniversary of Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Let that sink in, folks. December will be the 25th anniversary of this movie. Dear God. And I don't think it's anywhere near like a perfect film, but it is truly great. I remember just loving it the first time I saw it. I watched it again probably about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, something like that. And I remember going, wow, this holds up. Because it's built on just really good, solid storytelling. The movie is. So, if you haven't had a chance to see Batman Mask of the Phantasm, listen to Bryce and make sure you check it out. All right. John DeBenedict writes, Happy Death Day was a nice surprise last year, so I'm curious about the sequel. Although, at first I thought the 2U in the title was U2, hashtag Bono. So I completely agree with you, man. Happy Death Day. Now, you guys, if you've watched me for any period of time, you've heard me talk about this, but Happy Death Day was such a pleasant surprise movie for me. Because I had seen 2 or 3 of these clearly lower budget little horror films, and they were garbage, like in a row. And Happy Death Day kind of looked like another one of those. And I wasn't even going to go to the press screening, but turns out they were doing the screening for it. 10-minute walk up the street from me at the AMC Burbank 16. So I grabbed my friend Corey, and she and I went to go watch it. Zero expectations. None. And I had a blast watching that movie. I thought that movie was really fun, a great little horror while comedy, kind of homage to some older horror and Groundhog Day kind of movie, and it just worked. The lead girl, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head, Ruth or Routh, anyway, was fantastic. It's a great little movie. And then what John is talking about here with the 2U thing, they just announced the official title for the sequel, which is Happy Death Day to You. It's the number 2 in the letter U, right? So I thought it's a clever little wordplay on it, and I'm very excited to see where they go with this story moving forward. All right. Daryl Best Wadley writes, did you see the new Creed 2 trailer? Yeah, and as a matter of fact, last night I saw it for the first time on the big screen when they played it in front of the screening of Venom that I had last night. I didn't see it play in front of the first time I saw Venom, but they did play it in front of Venom last night. And it was great seeing it on the screen and seeing that shot of Rocky and Drago in the ring together behind their fighters and just kind of staring at each other, going all the way back to Rocky 4 when the last time they stood in the ring together was in Russia and they were about to have that epic fight. And I love that line. He broke things in me that ain't ever been fixed. Love that line. So good. It's such a good trailer. Speaking of surprises, I honestly thought that Creed movie had no hope, and Creed was great. The first Creed was great. Super stoked for the second one. Let's hope it lives up to the first. All right. Lorna Chaudhry writes, love the show. Thank you so much. Today is my birthday. Oh, I'm sure this was a couple of days ago when the question came in. Today is my birthday and became a Patreon. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much, Lorna. I appreciate that. Happy birthday to you. And thank you so much for becoming a Patreon supporter and being one of the people that makes this show possible. I appreciate it very much. And again, I hope you had a great birthday. All right. Jason Lauricella writes, any new updates on Universal's Dark Universe? No, none. I mean, it's done. It's got to be done. You know, Alex Kurtzman, who I like a lot, was going to shepherd that whole thing. And now he's not even connected to it anymore. He's gone. He's now shepherding the Star Trek television universe. And I don't know, maybe he's even getting involved in the Star Trek moveset, but I know I like that new show, Star Trek Discovery. I know we're all excited about the new Star Trek show with Captain Picard coming back. Well, it's probably Admiral Picard or Chancellor Picard now, or whatever they're going to call him. But Patrick Stewart's coming back to play Picard again, and we're all excited about that. I've heard nothing about the Universal Dark Universe thing. Look, I didn't think Tom Cruise's The Mummy was as bad as a lot of people made it out to be, but it certainly wasn't good. It certainly wasn't good. And it did not live up to the expectations they had. It was a great example of Universal getting way too far ahead of themselves. You know, talking about all these movies they're going to be doing and all the stars they've already got lined up and blah, blah. And they didn't even have the first movie come out yet. And then the first movie come out, disappointed at the box office, totally left them in shambles. And honestly, at this point, I think it's dead. It may not be dead. They may still have plans for it. But I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it's just completely dead. But no new updates that I've heard. Stubble McShave writes, can you name a movie where Sean Bean doesn't die? Well, actually, I think the last two movies I've seen Sean Bean in, I don't think he dies. And I may be wrong about that. The last movie I saw Sean Bean in was The Martian. He doesn't die in The Martian. He's great. Well, the movie's awesome and everybody's great in it. But anyway, The Martian. He doesn't die in The Martian. The movie I saw him in before that was Jupiter Ascending. Awful movie, but I don't think he dies in that. He might. I can't remember. I don't remember him dying in that. He may have. I'm like, my mental defenses are trying to block that movie out because it is truly a horrible movie. But I don't think he died in that. He may have, but definitely the last movie I saw him in, he didn't. And maybe the last two movies I saw him in, he didn't. But yeah, that's the running gag that if Sean Bean's in a movie or TV show, he's probably going to die pretty quick. Stubble McShave writes, Apt Pupil only had 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. Incredible. Yeah, I love Apt Pupil. I do. But you know what the funny thing is? Apt Pupil with Ian McKellen, directed by Bryan Singer. I do know a lot of people that don't like it. And to me, it's one of those, look, we all have a number of films that we really like and a lot of other people don't. Apt Pupil is one of those films for me. I really like that film. I think it's fantastic, but I know a lot of my friends didn't care for it that much. So on the one hand, I'm flabbergasted that it only has like as high of a rating as it does. But at the other hand, I'm not all that surprised because I know a lot of people that don't like it, unfortunately. Dennis Henna writes, John, what do you think will be the title of the Joker film? I'm hoping it'll simply be called One Bad Day. What are your thoughts? Love the show. Well, thank you so much, Dennis. Well, number one, we don't know anything about the movie, so One Bad Day might be the stupidest name for the movie, right? It could be a perfect name for the movie, but it could also be the stupidest, worst name for the movie. Like, we don't know if that's going to be an element of this film at all. Yes, One Bad Day is a great harken onto The Killing Joke. Yeah, but this movie might have nothing to do with The Killing Joke. It might not borrow any story elements from The Killing Joke, and therefore One Bad Day may have not be applicable at all. It might be perfectly applicable. It might not be applicable at all. So I would say don't hope for a certain title for a movie when we don't even know anything about the movie, right? Not knowing anything about the movie, I mean, if I had to pick a title, I would just call it Joker. I mean, not knowing anything about the movie, Joker seems to be the best, most concise, and on-the-nose accurate title for the movie. Although we know his name in the movie is Arthur, maybe just call it Arthur. Maybe don't even put Joker in the title. Maybe just call it Arthur. The bottom line, though, for me, though, Dennis, is that if you've watched me for any period of time, I honestly don't care all that much about titles. I mean, a title will not make a movie any worse, and a title will not make a movie any better. If you've got a bad movie, no title is going to make the movie better. If you've got a good movie, a bad title is not going to make it a worse movie. So I'll smile when I hear certain titles, but honestly, at the end of the day, titles don't really mean anything because it doesn't affect the movie at all. But if I had to pick one right now, I would just either call it Arthur or Joker. Anything outside of that, it's tough to say because we don't even really know what the movie's about all that much. Alex Bose writes, have you seen King of Comedy with Robert De Niro and Lewis? With De Niro and Lewis, did you or somebody you know ever experience similar fan craziness? Well, that movie came out, I think, in like 93. You know what? Did that movie come out? Let me look it up. Did that movie come out the same year as Batman Mask of the Phantasm? No, I was like 10 years. I was like 82. Oh my God, 93. It came out in like 82. I was like 11 years off. Woo, that's an old one too. That kind of fan craziness? Nah. I've certainly had some very interesting online interactions with certain fans. Of course, you guys know the whole customer service story that I've told before. But I'll tell you what, I've been very, very, very lucky that any fan interactions I've ever had, like bumping into people at conventions or at movie theaters or just out on the street, has always been amazing. I've loved every fan interaction I've ever had. I really can't think of any, whatever. The craziest one was when a dude offered me his girlfriend for the night. That was an interesting one. But other than that, I mean, it's all been positive. You know, it's all been positive and good. And I really like, so I can't personally identify with the type of stuff that we got in King of Comedy. All right. Next one. Cody Carroll writes, thoughts on Fanboys. No one calls Han Solo a bitch. I love Fanboys. Here's an interesting little story. True story. Actually, is my phone here? It is. Fanboys. Let me just make sure I've got this right here. Fanboys is directed by this really cool dude named Kyle Newman. And Kyle Newman is, he's a director, and there he is. This is my email or my text message stuff right there. Kyle Newman just got a hold of me the other day. He was on actually my Masters of the Web panel one year. Kyle's a very cool guy with beautiful kids and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Kyle, who directed Fanboys, just wrote a book. Him, Sam Witwer, Sam's brother, and one other gentleman whose name is eluding me right now. They just wrote a book that's not available yet, but it's coming out really soon, called Dungeons & Dragons, Art and Arcanum, A Visual History. And you guys know I'm playing a lot of Dungeons & Dragons these days. And it's funny because Kyle just texted me the other day. I haven't talked to him in a while, but Kyle just texted me the other day saying, hey, I'm going to send you a copy of the book. And I'm like, eh, and Anne's freaking out because Anne loves Dungeons & Dragons. So it's kind of funny that you bring up that question right now. I love Fanboys. I think Fanboys is awesome. And if you haven't seen it, you really should. And you don't even have to be a big Star Wars fan to watch Fanboys, although it probably helps a lot if you are a Star Wars fan. But even if you've seen it before, watch it again, because you'll be surprised how many people are in the movie that you totally forgot were in the movie. Or people who are in this movie that you didn't know were going to be big and then later became kind of big, right? So if you get a chance to watch Fanboys, totally watch Fanboys. And keep your eyes open. I haven't read the book yet myself, but knowing Kyle and Sam, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Dungeons and Dragons, Art and Archaeum, A Visual History. Keep your eyes. You know, I should see if I can get Kyle to come on the show and just talk, because you know how much I'm into Dungeons and Dragons right now. I should see if I can get Kyle to come in and promote his book. I should bring him on the show just to talk about his book, because I'm very excited about it. Anyway, let's see. Zane Hashmi writes, Thanos, you should have gone for the head chills. Oh, man, like Avengers Infinity War. One of the really enjoyable things about it, it's filled with great moments. It's filled with great moments. The best moment to me in the film is that one scene between Rocket and Thor talking about all the stuff that he's lost. Best moment of the movie for me, but it's filled with these wonderful moments. And for sure, man, that shot where Thanos is there, he's got Stormbreaker buried in his chest, and he's dying at the moment. And he goes, you should have gone for the head. I mean, it's such an iconic moment, such a great moment. Let's see. Zane Hashim follows it up with, seriously, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson is the best casting for any comic book movie. I disagree with that. He's great in it for sure. He's great in it for sure. No doubts. I love J.K. in that role. But it's a very small role. It's a very small role where it only had to play one dimension. He just had to be this guy. And you just play one dimension of it in a very few small number of minutes of screen time. I don't think you can have that type of a character in the conversation for best casting of a comic book movie ever. You can't put it on the same level as a Chris Evans as Captain America, or a Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, or a Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or a Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. You can't have it in the same conversation. Don't get me wrong, I'm with you. I love JK in that role, and I would love to see him come back and play the role again. But honestly, with a guy who only had to play a one-dimensional aspect to a character with just a few minutes of screen time in the movies, you can't really put him in that conversation. In my opinion, at any rate, I don't really think you can put him in that conversation, but he is awfully great. Ben Rayner writes, did you see Kenya on Saturday Night Live? I don't watch a lot of Saturday Night Live, and I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of unplugged from a lot of the music scene today. I don't know who Kenya is, so no, the answer is no. Michael West wrote, should Professor X be in his 60s, and should the X-Men look older, not young? No, not at all. Not at all. Remember, this movie, like this new one coming out, is set in the 1990s. It's set like 25 years ago. So no, he shouldn't be in his 60s, and the X-Men should not look older. They should definitively look a bit younger, because like I said, it's set in the 90s. So no. I mean, when you fast forward to today, yeah, now you get closer to the Patrick Stewart Professor Xavier that we're a little bit more accustomed to. But if you're doing these movies in the 80s and 90s, then no, you show the younger versions of them for sure. I don't get likes, writes Origin. I get this because he's talking about the origin of his name. Because I've always said whenever I don't get likes comes up, I always comment about how much I like that username. So he's saying, Origin. I would comment on videos and not get any likes or comments, yet everyone else did. So gave it a week to get 1 like on 20 vids I commented on, and one person gave me a dislike. So I share my dread. That's funny. Thanks for sharing that, man. Michael West writes, also, why is Beast go back from human to mutant form, leave him blue for the whole film? Oh, I don't agree with that. And why is he so thin? Should Beast be more bulky in the film? Nah, I don't necessarily agree with that either. Look, this isn't the comic book. It's an interpretation of the comic book, right? I think we get a lot better character work, visually speaking, from Beast, having him go back and forth from human to his mutant form. I think it works great on that level. And would I be opposed if they made him big and bulky? No, not at all. But like so many comic book characters are big and bulky and muscular. I think Beast is just really powerful because of the nature of his DNA. So I don't know. I mean, I gotta say, I wouldn't be opposed to them making him bulkier, but I don't think I've never thought that though. Like I've never once seen this incarnation of Beast and going, oh, I just can't get into it because he's not physically bigger. I've never felt that way. And also, I do like the way they have him going back and forth because then we can get some better on-screen acting from the character and from the actor. So yeah, I'm fine with it personally, but I could see why like comic book purists may feel differently, and that's cool. But from a filmmaking point of view, I think it's more effective this way. But that's just my opinion. I mean, your opinion is no more and no less valid than mine, but that's just the way I feel about it. All right. Let's see. Steve, the mixologist, writes, your thoughts on the beef that's going on between Cat Williams and Kevin Hart. Kevin is really defending Tiffany Haddish. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know what Steve is talking about, Cat Williams took some shots at Tiffany Haddish. And of course, Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart have a new movie out right now called Night School. It just came in theaters the other day. Or last week, I should say. And so then Kevin Hart came to her defense, and now you got this whole back and forth thing. I'll be honest with you, Steve, I don't care. I don't pay any attention to this celebrity gossip, who's yapping at who. I don't care. I really don't. The only time it gets my interest is when it could affect the future of a movie franchise. For example, the drama that goes on between Vin Diesel and The Rock. That interests me because it could have a direct impact on the movies themselves. Something between Cat Williams and Kevin Hart, I don't care. I don't care. And I don't think either of them should get into it. Look, I'm perfectly fine with Kevin Hart defending Tiffany Haddish. I love Tiffany Haddish. But honestly, look, somebody said this to me once before, and you've heard me say it 1,000 times. The only thing that is guaranteed to happen when you get into a shit-slinging contest with people online, the only thing that is guaranteed to happen is that everybody ends up smelling like shit. That's the only thing that's guaranteed to happen. Everyone ends up smelling like shit when you get into a shit-slinging contest online. So that's why I have allowed myself in the past to get dragged into online stuff with people before. And all that, even if I felt I was right, even if I felt, you know what? All that ended up happening was everybody smelled like shit. And I just decided, you know what? No, it's not going to be me anymore. I'm not going to get involved in those things. I'm not going to get dragged into it. Some people just want to live in the mud, and I just don't want to be that. And like I said, I've let myself get into it before, but nothing good comes out of it. Not really. So I don't think it's something that Cat Williams or Kevin Hart or anybody should be involved in. So what do I think about their beef? I think they're both stupid for airing it out publicly. And other than that, I just don't care because I don't care much about celebrity gossip stuff. Anyway. Gabriel Reed writes, do you think Mysterio will rock the you probably mean classic, the classic fishbowl in Far From Home? I think it would be cool. I think it would be awful, Gabriel. To be honest with you, I think it would be absolutely dumb. I mean, I respect that you and a lot of my friends want to see the classic Mysterio fishbowl head. For me personally, I think it would be idiotic. I think it would be, this is a great example of something that it's fine for you to draw on the pages of a comic book, but would not come across right in a live action environment. Some costumes translate very well. Some don't. I think the Mysterio fishbowl head would be nonsensical. I think that is one of the things you absolutely have to lose. I think you absolutely have to lose. Now, they may very well have the fishbowl head in the movie. They very well could. And maybe they'll come up with a way for it to look great. So I'm not poo-pooing on you for wanting to see it, or I'm not poo-pooing on my other buddies who are really wanting to see it. But since you're asking me, I'll tell you, my opinion is that it's a terrible idea. My opinion is that it's a terrible idea. I really don't want to see it. Remember, we got our first look at Jake Gyllenhaal in a Mysterio outfit, and there was no fishbowl. Now, that doesn't mean it's not in any other part of the movie, because it very well could be. But yeah, again, it's just that matter of just because something works on a typed, print in a book, just because something works in a drawn, illustrated thing on the pages of a comic book, that does not mean it will work that effectively in a live action environment on a movie screen, right? One of the big controversy always comes up is like the Wolverine, the classic yellow spandex. Like, yeah, that's his classic look on the printed page. And on the printed page, that works great. And I love it on the printed page. But I thought it would look ridiculous on a movie screen. Absolutely stupid. Some comic book characters, you can do a more direct translation like that. Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Thor. I mean, there are looks on the printed page you can translate directly to the big screen, and it works great. But I think there are some that don't. And I just happen to think that the Mysterio fishbowl is one of those things you're best to leave on the comic book page. Now, I could be dead wrong about that. Like I said, they may make this movie. We may go in and see it. Jake Gyllenhaal may rock the fishbowl, and it might look fantastic. And at that point, I'll go, hey, they made it work. But for now, I just got to believe it's a pretty bad idea. Michael West writes, is Dark Phoenix a rehash of X3 without Logan? I don't think so. I mean, look, they're clearly taking another shot at the Dark Phoenix story. But that does not inherently, in and of itself, make it a rehash of X-Men 3. There's a lot to do. Like, remember, too, the Dark Phoenix story arc in X-Men 3 was also kind of just a side story. An important side story, but a side story nonetheless. The main story arc in X-Men 3 was about the kid whose mutant ability was to cancel out, turn off everybody else's mutant abilities. That was the really main storyline. And the Phoenix part of the story was kind of the side story in a way. An important one, but a side story nonetheless. So, no, I even though they're kind of taking another shot at retelling it, I in no way kind of feel it's a rehash. Now, we may watch the movie, and the movie may very well feel like a rehash, but from the outside looking in right now, no, it looks like them just telling a new iteration of the classic Dark Phoenix story. And just taking a new shot at it. It doesn't feel like a rehash to me, but it may very well turn out that way. We'll have to wait and see. KC Link writes, UK, if it's 15, you can go if you are... If it's UK, if it's 15, you can't go if you're under that. Okay, so what came up the other day was the fact that Venom in the UK got a rating of 15, which in the UK is the exact same rating that Deadpool got. So they don't have R in the UK. They have different rating system. And it just so happens that while Venom in North America got a PG-13 rating and Deadpool got an R, in the UK, Venom did get the same rating as Deadpool. Now, I said at the time, I don't know how the UK rating system works. I'm guessing it means that if you're under 15, you got to be accompanied by an adult. But then I had a lot of people on Twitter and on my show follow up and say, no, actually in the UK, 15 means if you're under 15, you can't go at all, with or without an adult. So I didn't know that before. And now I do. So thanks for sharing. Miles Pardo writes, 15 means you have to be that age, even with an adult. We just covered that ground, but thank you, Miles. Samuel Varg writes, more Star Wars, Better Call Maul, oh, I like that, or Return of the Jedi King. Better Call Maul flows better. Of course, a play on Better Call Saul. That, to me, for a spoof title, flows better off the tongue. Return of the Jedi King, it works, not as well. Better Call Maul, I think, is the better one. Let's see. Third Man 3 writes, hypothetical, but do you believe the reports that Lucasfilm could find someone... Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Hypothetical, but do you believe the reports that Lucasfilm couldn't find someone to take that job if Kathleen Kennedy was actually fired? No way. Oh, no. Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear about this, it is one of the most single idiotic things I've ever heard. And listen, it's the online world. We all, including me, have bought into and believed and read some absolutely idiotic, absurd things. But right up there, amongst the most idiotic and absurd things I have ever read anybody espouse online, is this notion that Disney wanted to fire Kathleen Kennedy, but they couldn't find anybody who wanted the job. Nobody wanted the job of president of Lucasfilm. And so they just had to keep Kathleen Kennedy. That is one of the most idiotic, absurd, naive things I have ever heard anybody say. Ever. Ever. It is moronic. Number one, it is Lucasfilm. You'd have to be a special kind of stupid to ever believe there aren't 1,000 big-time movie executives in this business that wouldn't kill to have that job. President of Lucasfilm? Are you kidding me? Second, let's even say, their top pick didn't want the job because they're doing something else. That happens all the time. That happens all the time. In entertainment, in sports, in industry, all the time. Many times the person who gets the big job wasn't necessarily the first pick, but the first pick wasn't available. That happens. But here's the thing. Let's make this a sports analogy, okay? When a sports team just feels that their coach, it isn't working anymore. For whatever reason, this coach with this team is not working. And it's detrimental to our team to have this person as our coach any longer. They remove the coach. And if they can't get the exact person they want right now, then they just put in somebody else and call them the interim coach. That means this person will be our coach until we find the actual permanent person we want to be our coach. Because right now, it's bad for our team to keep this guy as our coach right now. So we remove him. And if we can't get the exact person we want right now, let's just put in somebody else in an interim basis to keep the ship going until we get the person we want. If Disney thought for 1 second that Kathleen Kennedy was detrimental to Star Wars. Now, you may feel Kathleen Kennedy's detrimental to Star Wars, and that's fine. But if Disney felt that, she would have been gone instantly. And Bob Iger, who is the High Lord and Emperor of Disney, both the chairman of the board and the CEO, who answers to nobody at Disney, if he wanted Kathleen Kennedy gone, if he felt Kathleen Kennedy was bad for the company, he would have outed her. And then if he couldn't get the exact person he wanted to take over as president, he would have hired somebody else as an interim basis to keep the ship running until they could find the exact person they want. That's how real life works. That's how the real world works. That's how business works. You don't go, well, I think they're bad for our company and they're running our company in the ground, but we can't find the exact person we want, so let's just keep them in that spot, even though we think them being in that spot's bad for the business. That's not how reality works. I remember reading that thing about Disney can't find anybody to take over Lucasfilm. Bullshit. Bull. Absolute nonsense. Special kind of stupid if you believe that. Now again, let me be very clear, because I'm sure there are people rushing to misquote me right now. I'm not saying it's stupid that you feel they should replace her. Hell, I believe Kathleen Kennedy should step down. I've said that publicly. So I'm not saying it's stupid for you to believe they should replace her. I'm not saying it's stupid of you to believe that you don't think she's doing a good job. I don't think that's stupid, not at all. But what is stupid is to believe for 1 second that, Disney just kept her because they couldn't find anybody else to take the job. That is one of the most idiotic things you could possibly believe. That's simply not true. The fact of the matter is, Bob Iger really likes Kathleen Kennedy. Whether he should or shouldn't is totally up for debate, but he does. And Bob Iger likes what she's been doing, and Bob Iger wants to keep her as president. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. We can have discussions like I say, I believe she should step down. We can have discussions about whether or not you feel that she is doing a good job in that thing. That's totally fair. Totally fair for you to have whatever opinion you want on that. But to believe for 1 minute, 1 freaking minute, that Disney is so stupid that they go, well, we think her being president is hurting our business, but we can't find anybody else. Oh, well, we'll just keep her in the job. Idiotic. 7-Eleven knows that if they think a manager of one of their stores is hurting their business, they don't wait around to make sure they find the replacement. They get them out. And if they have to temporarily promote the assistant manager, then they'll temporarily promote the assistant manager. Even 7-Eleven knows to do that. God, I'm just, like, seriously, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. And I'm not, before anybody jumps around to think I'm bashing anybody who reported that, I'm not bashing anybody who reported it. Everybody who was reporting it heard it from somebody else. All right? So I'm not bashing on anybody who reported it. I'm just saying there are some people who reported it, and that's fair because that's what they heard. But now for we as people who then hear these reports, we got to engage a little bit of common sense and understand that that's just all BS. It's just all BS. So anyway, that's my kind of thought on that. Marie Ciphering writes, have you seen the Andie MacDowell film Love After Love? Oh, you know what? I haven't. And do you recommend it? Congrats on the new gigs and thanks. First of all, Marie, thank you for sending in the question. You know what? No. And Andie MacDowell, who is awesome, she's in it with Chris O'Dowd, who was the love interest in Bridesmaids. And now he's in the Get Shorty show. I love Chris O'Dowd. I think this dude is an awesome entertainer. Just great performer on screen. I love seeing this guy on screen. So for those of you who know anything about the movie's about Andie MacDowell, whose husband passes away. And she has two sons, one of which is Chris O'Dowd. And the movie's about the family dealing with the loss of the father and Andie MacDowell wanting to move on with her life now. And I remember from the trailers, like, she gets involved with other men, like she's trying to live, right? And that creates struggle and drama and all that kind of stuff. It looks fantastic. I heard nothing but good things about it, but it never played in any theaters around me, so I never really had the chance to watch it per se. And then I totally forgot all about it. I believe it came out in like 2016, 2017, recent. It was a recent film. So I never did have a chance to see it. All I know is that I was very intrigued. I really wanted to see it, and I never did. But thanks for putting that back on my radar, Marie. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of of the companion video, getting us a little bit more caught up. Now, if you're somebody who still has an outstanding question, don't worry. I still have a huge list of questions I still got to get around to. We are quite a bit behind, so more companion videos to come. All right, guys, don't forget, on Monday morning, the John Campea Show returns. Make sure you join us at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or if you can't join us live, just watch the show after it airs. Thanks for being a part of this all, guys. Thanks for contributing your questions. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.